you very much. Good evening, everyone. We will call the meeting of the Oxnard City Council Community Services, Public Safety, Housing, and Development Committee to order. And we have a brief introductory video on how to participate in this meeting to play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did we lose Diego?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
There it is. Thank you to the IT team for bringing that forward to us. And Madam Clerk, if we can have the roll call and posting of the agenda, please.
Member Zaragoza,
Here.
Member Madrigal,
Here.
Chair McDonald.
Here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board on January 18th, 2022.
Thank you very much. And Mayor, if you'd be so kind to lead us in the flag salute, please.
Mm-hmm. You say it? Go ahead and say it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor. And you may be seated now.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, that will take us to item number B, public comments on items not on the agenda. And I show that we have one speaker. And while we're getting the speaker situated to talk, if you could start the clock running for any additional speakers that wish to call in, that would be helpful, please. And I'm showing, my list shows Jose Celadon as the speaker for public comments not on the agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald, Mr. Celadon is currently not available, and I did start the 3-minute timer for any additional public speakers. Thank you.
Okay, then we will wait until the timer finishes and we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Chair
Okay, Madam
McDonald,
Clerk. Yes, ma'am.
we do not have any additional speakers.
Thank you very much. And I will apologize ahead of time to people. If you see me looking at two different screens, it's because one of my computers yesterday had a pretty catastrophic failure. So I'm working off of two systems right now, trying to keep things going. So it's not that I'm being rude. I've just got information on one screen and video on another screen. With that, we'll move to the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, if you would start the 3-minute clock again. If there's any speakers for consent agenda.
We do not have any speakers at the moment, and I did start the 3-minute timer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the subject is approval of the minutes from the January 11th, 2022 regular meeting as presented in this packet. And I'll open it to the committee members. If the committee members have any comments, either the mayor or member Madrigal. I'm sorry, I had a senior moment for a second. Mayor, any comments?
I am not on the consent. No, I don't, sir.
Okay. Member Madrigal, any comments?
No comments.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. With that, we will wait until the 3-minute timer runs out and we'll proceed.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen, for the entertainment of dueling banjos. I was going to sing along to parts of it, but every time I do that, my dog howls at the top of his lungs. So I didn't want to subject you all to that torture. Madam Clerk, we have no additional speakers.
Mayor Pro Tem McDonald, we do not have any additional speakers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What's the pleasure of the committee regarding the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Madrigal, a second by the mayor. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Member Madrigal,
Aye.
Member Zaragoza,
Aye.
Chair McDonald.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you very much. That takes us to item D, reports. And then the first one is the fire department. Subject is a safer grant application with no match required. And if you would start the 3-minute timer for any people that might wish to call in, that would be great. And the recommendation is that the Community Services, Public Safety, Housing and Development Committee recommends that the City Council adopts a resolution 1, ratifying the submission of a grant application for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA, for fiscal year 2021 staffing for adequate fire and emergency response, also called SAFER grant, in the amount of $2,192,342 to be used for the hiring of 6 additional firefighters, and there's no local match required. Additionally, that it authorizes the city manager or designee to execute the grant agreement if grant funds are awarded to the city. And next, that also authorizes the chief financial officer or designee to submit financial reports and grant claims, approve budget appropriations during fiscal year 2022, 2023 for the use of grant funds, and perform all other required financial actions. And finally, authorizes the fire chief or designee to submit non-financial reports. Pursuant to Measure N, there was a pre-recorded video on the city's YouTube channel for viewing. Chief Hamilton is here. Are there any questions by members of the committee for the chief? Now would be the time to ask them. Member Madrigal, any questions or comments?
No questions at this time.
Thank you. Mayor, any questions or comments?
Yeah, the question I have is, I guess the application was posted on January the 3rd, and we have a deadline of the 4th to submit the application. And my understanding too, Chief, that this is for a 3-year period. That's going to give us 6 additional firefighters, which I think is outstanding, which is really, it's going to help us out, and I think you said 3 firefighters are EMTs to drive the squad, and then 3 paramedics, which I think is really needed in the community, which is really, really great. Yeah. The only thing that they're going to be out of Peninsula, correct, Chief?
That is correct. They'd be assigned to Fire Station 6.
Yeah, and also the other thing that of course, this is for 3 years, and unfortunately, or there's no guarantee that we can keep the 6 firefighters in, but potentially, hopefully, maybe, and I'm looking at their city manager, potentially, maybe we might have some funding by that time from the general fund in 3 years. So, but I think it's a good program. I think it's going to help us, because we do have the need for those additional positions, and again, that I think the SAFER grant is going to help us tremendously. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. And I would echo those comments. I mean, we're going to make a tremendous investment in the new hires in terms of training, experience, and expertise. So it would be a shame not to keep them after the grant funds run out. So I'm hopeful that our city manager will be able to work some magic and make that happen. Chief, any additional comments to amplify this presentation? Or
yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words. I think this is an opportunity for us. The federal government's SAFER grant has removed a lot of the strings that have been attached. And this gives us a real opportunity to place a paramedic squad out at Fire Station 6, which is kind of geographically remote from the rest of the city. We really think we're going to see a great improvement in getting the first ALS resource on scene, so that first paramedic on scene. Similarly to when we started our paramedic squad down at Fire Station 8, we saw an almost immediate 20% improvement in our first medic on scene response time, which is key to be able to start those life-saving measures. So this is a really good opportunity for us to sort of try it on, I guess, and then we can see what the numbers tell us at the end of this grant period, and then make some decisions from there.
okay, thank you very much. Mr. City Manager, any comments? No? Okay. Madam Clerk, I'm presuming we don't have any speakers that called in?
We do not have any public speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What would be the pleasure of the committee?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve this item, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a motion by Mayor Zaragoza, a second by Councilmember Madrigal. A roll call, please.
Member Zaragoza,
Yes.
Chair McDonald,
Yes.
Member Madrigal.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, thank you very much. And that will take us to the Community Development Department, item number 2. And Madam Clerk, if you can start the clock for any people that may wish to call in while we go through the rest of the description, that would be helpful. And the subject is update on the city's climate action and adaptation plan, CAAP. And the recommendations is that the Community Services, Public Safety, Housing and Development Committee, or the committee, receive an update to the CAAP efforts and information on the greenhouse gas, also abbreviated as GHG, emission reduction strategies that will guide the development of the city CAAP. And again, pursuant to Measure M, there was a pre-recorded presentation on the city's YouTube channel. And the contact person is Vito Adamitis, but I see Miss Mallory here, so I'm going to take a guess and think that Miss Mallory is going to do the presentation for us.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor. Yes, the presentation's been pre-recorded. I have Jeff Caton with who is our consultant with ESA. We're happy to answer any of your questions tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. Does the committee have any questions they would like to pose to either staff or the consultant?
Is the consultant? Sorry, is the consultant going to add additional information? Because it's quite a comprehensive report, you know, the climate action and adaptation plan, you know, that I see where Melody did a tremendous amount of work here and the consultant. So I think that we need to work on the climate action plan, adaptation plan too, you know, it's really important for the entire city to work on that, and for the community for that matter, which is, but I really believe that it was a good presentation, and I think that's important that the community understand what we're doing and how important it is to work with this plan this time. Mm-hmm.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Mr. Caton. I apologize if I butchered your name, but do you have any additional comments to add to this presentation?
No, you got my name correct. That's great. I not anything except that what we're really trying to do here is get any feedback that you can provide on the key strategies that we've identified for reducing greenhouse gas emissions within the community. So these are actions that the city can take to ensure that your electricity supply remains green, to promote the use of electric vehicles over the next few years as more funding becomes available, and to take action to allow those who are low-income communities to have more access to clean and green electricity. Those were the kind of the key measures that you heard about in that presentation. And I don't know if maybe Kathleen wants to add a couple of comments about that, but those are really what we're trying to gauge support for these actions that the city can take, and that involves staff time and pursuing funding and partnering with other organizations for the most part.
Thank you, Mr. Caton. Committee, yes, we are proceeding as you see in the staff report. That's based upon professional expertise from our consultant, and the actions and recommendations that we are laying out in the report is how we're proceeding with preparation of the climate action plan, which has been largely informed by community input, stakeholders, a wide stakeholder group, and then also meetings with the community at large. We are having additional meetings beginning tomorrow with a series of stakeholders, and also on Thursday. So before you use the report, which is the approach that we're taking based upon professional guidance from our consultant, and we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. And this kind of ties right into the Port of Hueneme. They're doing a big study now about it, going to a completely green port with electrified vehicles. So I'm sure you probably reached out to them, but they may also be a beneficial partner on this. Mayor, did you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask another question was, I think the greenhouse emissions have to be, we have to meet the 1990 levels by 40% below the 1990 levels and 2030. So the question would be, what happens if we don't meet that?
So I'll jump in real briefly, and then the issue is that for the city to have something called a qualified cap, that is so that we can use our climate action and adaptation plan for reviewing and approving development projects. Mm-hmm. The document will quantify emission reductions, and then development projects can use that quantification as we take action to approve those projects. The state has a series of measures that they are moving towards in a punitive fashion. There's really no stick at this point. However, down the road, it's potential that there could be some punitive measures if the city does not help in meeting that overall state goal.
Yeah, and also one of the things that you have that the analysis discussion that talks about additional action that we have to take to meet that is electrifying transportation, the greenhouse electricity supply, and improving our energy efficiency. Those are big, big issues. That's a tremendous amount of funding it's going to be required to.
Yes, and they say the beauty of the climate action plan is it looks at things holistically to collectively, how can you meet that target? And our analysis so far indicates that just one key measure here is ensuring that the city stays subscribed to the Clean Power Alliance's green electricity tier. The more you can do around that that program, the better. That'll get you pretty far along towards your target. And there's a lot of other actions that add up to enable you to get to that 40% below 1990 levels.
That's a tremendous percentage.
Yes, and Kathleen was alluding to what the state is doing, and the state is taking a lot of its own actions. So there are things like the vehicle efficiency standards that will ensure emissions from cars keep going down, whether the city decides to take action or not, that'll still happen. And the same thing goes with renewable electricity. More and more of our grid electricity will become renewable over time based on the state laws that are in place, whether or not CPA is in the picture, but our Clean Power Alliance is in the picture. But either way, despite those state actions, there still is more action needed by the city to reach that target.
Yeah, the last statement that I have is that you have here in your report is that the city is maintaining a 95% participation in the CPA, which is really, really outstanding. You know, that's a tremendous amount of participation, which is really, really great. So we also need to maintain that, is what you're saying. The current status, I think, is 96% of the residents and 92% of the businesses, which is really, really, really great, I think, you know. So.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Madrigal, any comments?
No comments at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, did we get any callers?
We do not have any public speakers. Thank you.
Okay, this is an update which would make it a receive and file, so that'll be the direction. Thank you very much. Now we'll take us to item number 3, the Housing Department. And Madam Clerk, if we can start the clock again for any callers that might want to call in for item 3. And the subject is an impact fee loan agreement amendment, Las Cortes Phase 3. And the recommendation is that the Community Services, Public Safety, Housing, and Economic Development Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a first amendment to the loan agreement with A0592 Oxnard LP, a California limited partnership, for an increase in deferred impact fees related to the development of the Las Cortes Phase 3 affordable housing project. And the original agreement is A8226 for a total amount of $3,133,436. And for those that aren't familiar with it, Las Cortes is the redevelopment of the Colonia Village, Amelia through Eliza Court area in La Colonia. And again, pursuant to Measure M, there was a pre-recorded presentation available on the city's YouTube site. Staff is here and available to answer any follow-up questions if there are any. And I'll open it up to Councilmember Madrigal first, since it's your district. Any questions or concerns?
No, just one quick question. Say this goes through, how quickly do we proceed Phase 3 starting up?
Thank you, Councilman Emilio Ramirez, Housing Director. The real purpose behind making this amendment is so that urban housing communities has an opportunity to better compete in an application for tax credits that's due on March 1st. If that application is successful, then they would receive notice approximately May and would have to be under construction 6 months thereafter. So before the end of the calendar year, they would be under construction and then have a 14-month construction period going forward from that point. So it would be complete approximately beginning of 2022, 2024.
Okay, no, thank you. So that's best case scenario.
Yes.
All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Anything else, council member?
No, that'll be it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, any questions or
Yeah,
comments?
Emilio, can you give us a little bit of information, definition on the deferred impact fees? What exactly, happens there?
Yes, sir. The deferred impact fees is really a contribution from the city. Okay, so the way that an allocation of low-income housing tax credits work is based on a competitive basis on the amount of local contribution. That's how they garner more competitive points when they are competing with other projects in other cities. So in this case, the fees, the impact fees that are being lent are part of an impact fee that would otherwise not have to be paid by the development because it's a credit, because it's a redevelopment project. In other words, the housing units pre-existed today. Therefore, they don't have to be paid, they're a credit. But the city, the developer is asking that they be imposed upon them so that the city can then lend them to the project, therefore compete better in the allocation of credits. So it's that method of contributing to the project.
Great. And that helps us with affordability of homes. And
All of the units that were demolished were all public housing units, and they're all being converted. It's part of a method that HUD uses for conversion out of public housing into affordable housing. So as a result, they're all 100% affordable at 50% of the variable median income, and they are attaching project-based tenant protection vouchers or Section 8 vouchers for all of for 86 of the units that are there.
and that's great because the affordability is really needed. The last question I have, what's the timeline on the completion of the whole Las Cortes project?
Well, okay, so in this phase, this project, like I just mentioned, probably, hopefully, if successful in getting the tax credits, they would be under construction maybe at the end of this year and then be completed in 2024. Then there is one phase left that's at the very corner of what would be Rose and First, and that is the remaining couple of acres that is left to be developed. That still needs to be envisioned, planned. We would need to procure a developer. So we have quite a bit of work to do before we complete the last phase. We haven't even started a community outreach and charrettes or design. So there's quite a bit of work for the last phase to be completed at that very corner.
I think that goes, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Councilman Madrigal can, from Carmelita to Dolores Street, I think is that more or less, I think, something like that for this last.
It reaches all the way to the corner of First and Rose.
But for this next phase is from Carmelita to Dolores, and then from there on to, if I'm not mistaken, can't remember.
You're correct, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think with the completion of phase 3, that'll put us about 75 or 80% of replacing all of the housing stock that was there. So puts us in a pretty good position. So,
Great.
Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
I think you have, Madrigal has a question.
I'm sorry, Councilmember, I didn't see your hand. I apologize.
Oh, no worry. It kind of blends into the screen itself. Quick thing, you were mentioning housing on the corner of First and Rose. Wasn't that the proposed site for the skate park?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know that it would be the entire property there, but yeah, the skate park would be generally on that park, on that corner. And then whatever balance of land is left that would not be used by the park, if there is any, then we would build affordable housing on that site. But yes, the skate park would be in that area.
Okay, no, thank you.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, did we get any callers?
Mr. McDonald, we do not have any public speakers. Thank you.
Okay, this is an action item. So what is the pleasure of the committee?
Move approval.
Okay,
Madam Clerk, we have a motion by the mayor and a second by Councilmember Madrigal. Roll call, please.
Member Madrigal,
Aye.
Chair McDonald,
Aye.
Member Zaragoza.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That takes us to item E, items for future agendas. Do either of the members have any future agenda items they would like to have brought forward to us?
No.
No? Okay. With that, Mr. Nguyen, any final concluding comments?
No, thank you, sir.
Okay. Madam Clerk, that will take us to item F, which is adjournment. This meeting will be adjourned. Thank you all for your time this evening and your participation, and all be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.